In the heart of Mexico City, under the vibrant hues of a setting sun that painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, lived two inseparable twins, Isabella and Gabriela. They were known throughout their neighborhood for their spirited antics and the unbreakable bond they shared. Both in their early 20s, they were as identical in appearance as they were different in temperament. Isabella was the fiery soul, passionate and impulsive, while Gabriela was the calm to her storm, thoughtful and serene. Despite their differences, or perhaps because of them, they complemented each other perfectly. Their lives were a whirlwind of adventure and laughter until the day Alejandro walked into their world. Alejandro, with his charming smile and eyes as deep as the ocean, was new to Mexico City, having moved from the coastal town of Puerto Vallarta. He was unaware of the turmoil his presence would soon cause in the lives of the two sisters. It all started at the local mercado, where the twins had gone to buy ingredients for their abuela's famous mole recipe. Alejandro, lost and looking for directions, approached them with a simple question, but found himself captivated by their beauty and the warmth of their welcome. They laughed and joked, showing him around, and by the end of the day, Alejandro found himself wishing the day would never end. However, as he waved goodbye, something shifted between the sisters. A silent competition had begun, a rivalry neither had expected. In the weeks that followed, Isabella and Gabriela found themselves doing the unthinkable, keeping secrets from each other. They both sought Alejandro's attention, each in their own way. Isabella used her boldness to invite Alejandro on thrilling adventures through the city, from exploring ancient ruins at the break of dawn to dancing under the stars in hidden plazas. Gabriela, on the other hand, appealed to his intellectual side, taking him to quiet cafes, art exhibitions, and serene parks where they could talk for hours. Alejandro, for his part, was torn. He was drawn to Isabella's fiery spirit and the way she made his heart race with excitement. Yet he was equally enchanted by Gabriela's depth and the peace he found in her presence. He knew he had to make a choice, but the thought of hurting one to be with the other filled him with dread. As the day of the Feria de las Flores approached, a grand festival celebrating the beauty of flowers and the coming of spring, Alejandro knew he couldn't postpone his decision any longer. He planned to confess his feelings under the fireworks, hoping the magic of the night would ease the pain of his choice. The festival arrived, and the city buzzed with excitement. The streets were adorned with colorful blooms, and the air was filled with music and laughter. Isabella and Gabriela, each dressed in their finest, arrived together, trying to mask the tension between them with smiles. They found Alejandro waiting for them at the entrance, his handsome features illuminated by the glow of the surrounding lights. As Alejandro took a deep breath, ready to speak his truth, a sudden commotion erupted. A parade of dancers, dressed as mythical creatures, weaved through the crowd, separating the twins from Alejandro. In that moment of confusion, a figure from the past reappeared, setting the stage for an unexpected turn of events. The twins, momentarily distracted, turned to see who had caused the commotion. Standing before them was Carlos, their childhood friend, who had left Mexico City years ago to study abroad. His return was as unexpected as the turmoil brewing between Isabella and Gabriela. Carlos, with his easy smile and the familiarity of a shared past, brought a rush of memories and a pause in the sisters' silent battle over Alejandro. Carlos greeted them with open arms, oblivious to the tension his presence introduced. He spoke of his travels and the adventures that had taken him from one corner of the world to another, his stories captivating and filled with a sense of nostalgia for the times they had shared as children. The reunion was bittersweet, overshadowing the purpose of the evening and delaying Alejandro's anticipated confession. As the night progressed, the festival's magic seemed to weave its way into the hearts of the attendees. The fireworks display, a cascade of colors bursting against the night sky, provided Alejandro with the moment he had been waiting for. Pulling Isabella and Gabriela aside, he prepared to reveal his feelings, his heart heavy with the weight of his decision. However, before Alejandro could speak, Carlos, caught up in the excitement and the beauty of the moment, made a declaration of his own. He confessed that his return to Mexico City was not just a visit. He had come back hoping to rekindle the bond he once shared with Gabriela. His confession came as a shock, not just to Gabriela, but to everyone present, including Isabella and Alejandro. Gabriela, taken aback, found herself at a crossroads. The feelings she had once harbored for Carlos, which she thought had faded with time, suddenly resurfaced, complicating her emotions for Alejandro. Isabella, witnessing this exchange, felt a pang of betrayal, not from Alejandro, but from the sister she thought she knew so well. The dynamics of their relationships began to shift in ways none of them could have anticipated. As the night wore on, the festival's festivities turned into a backdrop for the personal drama unfolding. Isabella, feeling increasingly isolated, wandered away from the group, her thoughts a whirlwind of confusion and hurt. Gabriela, torn between her past with Carlos and the potential future with Alejandro, struggled to make sense of her feelings. Alejandro, meanwhile, stood frozen, his planned confession lost amidst the revelations of the evening. The tension reached its peak when a sudden downpour began, scattering the festival goers in search of shelter. Amidst the chaos, Isabella found herself alone under the canopy of a nearby tree, the rain mirroring the turmoil within her. It was then that she saw Alejandro approaching her, his figure a beacon of resolve against the backdrop of fleeing crowds and the relentless downpour. The rain seemed to wash away the facade of festivities, leaving them in a bubble of sincerity and raw emotions. Alejandro's eyes met Isabella's, and in them she saw a turmoil that mirrored her own, a reflection of the unspoken words and tangled feelings that the night had brought to the surface. "Isabella," Alejandro began, his voice barely above the sound of the rain. "I came here tonight to tell you something important, but the evening, it didn't go as I planned." Isabella, her heart caught in her throat, waited for the words she feared would sever the bond she shared with her sister forever. Yet, as Alejandro spoke, the confession she expected never came. Instead, Alejandro revealed his own uncertainties, his admiration for both sisters, and his realization that the choice he thought he had to make was not about choosing between them, but understanding his place in their lives. He admitted that the evening's events, particularly Carlos's return and his declaration, had made him question the depth of his feelings and whether they were born out of genuine affection or the thrill of being caught in a rivalry. As Isabella listened, a mixture of relief and confusion washed over her. The confession she had braced herself for had turned into an admission of shared confusion, binding them in their mutual uncertainty about the future. Before Isabella could respond, a sudden shout pierced the sound of the rain. They turned to see Gabriela running towards them, Carlos not far behind. Her expression was one of urgency, her eyes wide with a fear that immediately sent a chill through Isabella. "Isabella, Alejandro, we need to leave now! It's Abuela!" Gabriela gasped, her breaths heavy from running. She's not well. We have to go to her." The revelation struck them with the force of a physical blow. The complexities of their relationships, the unresolved feelings, and the night's emotional turmoil faded into insignificance at the news of their beloved grandmother's condition. Without a word, they knew what they had to do. The festival, the rain, and the personal revelations of the night were left behind as they rushed through the streets, the urgency of the moment propelling them forward. The bonds that had been tested that evening were now their strength, their shared love for their grandmother uniting them in purpose. As they disappeared into the night, the story of Isabella, Gabriela, and Alejandro was left hanging in the balance, their futures intertwined yet uncertain. The night had brought them to the brink of change, but it was the love for their family that guided their next steps. In the distance, the storm began to clear, revealing the first hints of dawn on the horizon. What the new day would bring for them remained to be seen. But one thing was certain: their lives would never be the same.